Hey guys, welcome back. Today, this will be our last video on the Batman Who Laughs, I'm thinking. I've got two brushes here and one thing of paint. It's a layer, so it's gonna be thinner. It's called White Scar. This I'm gonna be using to touch up the teeth, obviously make them a little wider. And I'm gonna be doing a technique called dry brushing. And if I can get some space, let's see here. I'm going to need a paper towel. Let me grab one real quick. The way dry brushing works is just like it sounds. You want it as dry as possible with just a little bit left on there, and you're gonna rub it across there. And what it's gonna do is it's going to pop out highlights. So like you see in this, you can kind of see where it's popped up. There's little, I guess these little pins, and then of course along the top, you can see highlights. And I'll do that on the head too. Mainly this is for the black parts, just to make them, so you can see the edges better. So I'm gonna start off with that because that's the easiest one. So I've got my paper towel. I'm going to take my paint, which I've already shaken up, but I'm gonna shake up just real quick, just again, just to make sure it hasn't settled, because these thinner things like the whites and the lighter colors, they tend to separate real easily. Let's see, yeah, that looks good. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take and stick my brush in it. Notice I've got a big fat brush. Sit it on the end, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take, and all that paint I just put on there, I'm going to rub off as much as I can on the paper towel, leaving some on the end. I don't want it wet, so I test it. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, and you can see, you'll be able to see it here. Let's see if I can pull it closer. If I take and I start rubbing on here like this, you can kind of see where some of that starts popping out. Now, I might still have a little too much paint on, so I might have to go back over with some black in a minute just to kind of touch some of that up. But where the highlights would hit along the top, I really want those to show up. So I'm going to brush this a little bit. I'm trying to do it lightly, but as you can see, a little bit more than is coming off. Maybe I didn't. It's hit or miss sometimes. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and as much of this as I can, get those little dots to pop up. Hit it over here too a little bit, especially along the top, this corner edge all the way around, because that's where the highlights, where the light hits the most, is where you want to do your highlights. So along the top. And what this does is it gives dimension to that flat black look. You don't want that flat black look. It just, blah, it's plain. So I'm trying to make sure I hit those edges the most of those lines across the head. I don't know if you see that. Now I'll have to go back in here and kind of touch some of the black up just because I got too much on it, but I want to make sure they pop. Especially those edges. Because I want it to look kind of like a shiny black leather, I guess you could say. Notice I haven't put any more paint on there yet. I'm just still kind of doing, just dragging across the top. Making sure I hit the highlights as much as I can, but I also want to get some of the other areas just to make sure that it doesn't look so flat. And so you can see where I did too much. I'll have to go back and fix that. Sometimes it's easier to practice on a separate model to make sure, or something else, just to make sure you don't have too much on your brush like I did. That's a good practice. I probably should do that. I did not. Oops. But this will make everything stand out more and look more 3D than it did, whereas just being painted just one flat color. Okay, let's go over here and get these. Okay, that stands out more, maybe too much in some places, but like I said, I can always go back and touch that up. Make sure I hit these edges back here and the sides. Okay, now I'm gonna set that down for a second. See how it kind of, I don't know, it doesn't look as flat, but maybe too much in certain areas. Anyway, oh yeah, get that better. Make sure you see all of the, oops. Okay, and before I get too much in this, I want to make sure I hit the corners of this as well. At this point, I probably should get a little bit more paint on here. I don't know if there's still any left on there, but I'll try and hit it up. Scraping that, and because I want to get the corners of this to kind of pop out some too. Even though it's just a base, I want it to kind of match the top. Okay, that's better. Okay, now I'll set this brush to the side because I'm gonna go back to this paint. I probably should set it back up for now. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to go back in and touch up those teeth. I don't want to make them too white because I mean it is the Joker, but in the middle where the wash I did in the last video, it kind of pulled up on some of the outside of the teeth, and I don't want that to pull up on there because it looks like he needs to go to the dentist. So now I'm going to take a smaller brush, just lightly get paint on there, and I'm going to take and just touch those up a little bit. Now, some people would thin this out more. Probably should have, but then again, I kind of like doing things differently and learning on my own. You'll find that when you're painting, you don't tend to do it like everybody else. You find something that works for you. And that is the fun of painting. Finding what makes you happy. I'm going to brush those teeth a little bit. I accidentally got in that crack, so what I'll do is I'll just go back with just a tiny little bit of wash. My wife keeps stealing my brushes, so I'm not sure where all of them are, but let's see if I got anything over here small enough. I do not. Anyway, you get the idea, and he's pretty much done. I'll go back and touch up some things on my own, but otherwise, hope you enjoyed my series of videos on Batman Who Laughs. We'll see what happens next. And I'll talk to you guys later.